The oddities that are developing out here, like Dinomorphia Labyrinth, the love for tier elements, it really entertains me with just how this metagame has developed. Don't be like 30% of you that have not smashed the ever-living crap out of that subscribe button. Smash it so you guys don't miss out on more on this content. We're going to be looking at YCCS Chiba here. Now, this is actually kind of interesting because this paints a picture here of what you can expect for people holding on to hopes and dreams here. But tier was the best represented deck out of this event. Now, keep in mind, with all of the limitations that this deck has placed on it in the current state, that it has found so many people out here that continue to love and support this deck, and I think that that's by far the craziest development out here. Now, on the follow-up here, we have Labyrinth. Now, Labyrinth ended up winning this event here. Labyrinth's actually kind of tacked out to handle a lot of the situations that you would really expect, but this build is also focusing on some heavy Galaxy Eyes shenanigans in here, some Ghost Reaper stuff. When we take a look at the list here, you'll see what I'm talking about here. We also have Subterror that made its way into the top cut. I'm actually genuinely very surprised to see that Subterror is still holding on as well as it actually is. Actually, it's kind of nice. We actually have Flaunderies as well. Now, keep in mind, you know, with the loss of the Stormwinds, and it's just kind of turned into like M-Pen control or Apex Avion control. It depends on how your deck has like established itself and what its go-to performance is in order to kind of counter the meta. We also had Dinomorphia with Labyrinth cards included in it. We've seen the idea of this before. It hasn't really stuck around too much, but it has been an apparent idea that people have been testing out here to kind of keep the deck alive. And of course, we do in fact have Vanquish Soul as well, the new headliner here that has turned into an absolute menace in the OCG. Let's pass on over to the top deck list here. Winning the event here was none other than Labyrinth, showcasing off the Cuckoo Clock, the whole tune your oven to the Labyrinth in order to make the Chaos Angel. It's definitely turned into one of the bigger showcases out here in terms of power. Yes, we are playing a crap ton of Galaxy cards down here as well because, you know, 2 Labyrinth large monsters basically allow you to make super Galaxy monsters to aggro pressure your opponent. When you have, you know, that much firepower, you're able to set up It's Good. The rest of the extra deck is going to be dedicated to Ghost Reaper. You see that we have 2 Virus cards down here as well that we can access in order to effectively control the game versus our opponent. I actually think that that's relatively good. Anytime that you can see control aspects starting to show up, or cards that, you know, can gain very quick advantages for the deck, that's actually what you want to see here overall. So not really surprised to see that this deck functioned well here. Next up is our first tier list. Now, when I say this, look at how stripped down that this deck is. This deck, the only reason why it's even holding on right now, I feel like, is because of Chaos Ruler and Ancient Fairy Dragon. Ancient Fairy Dragon, yes, all the field spells are effectively limited to 1 at this stage, but they have to be able to tutor through the multiple levels of the field spells. Each one, you know, with the limitations due to this, AFD allows a rotation. You're allowed to Chaos Ruler Excavate to try to find those key cards along the way. And well, with Gloat Bulb coming back, it really was no stranger thing that we get access to, you know, better tutorable cards along the way. Honestly, seeing this deck stripped down and still able to be played here is really no shocker whatsoever. Also, you know, card destruction just being like a kind of a free swoop in here for massive value against the opponent actually is pretty good overall. Next up here, locking down 3rd place here, was none other than another Tier Elements deck. Now, this one is going to be sporting off the Kashtira Unicorn and the Fenrir. Both of these are going to be actually kind of good for pressuring the opponent. You gotta remember, with Unicorn and Fenrir limited to 1, this deck kind of has to adapt to playing better cards. And, you know, obviously Theosis Birth definitely makes this deck a lot better for what it actually is. And once again, you know, you have Chaos Ruler down here holding on. Even with Skill Drain at 1 in this deck, this deck is still playing it. I don't see a reason as to why you wouldn't want to maximize on it. We're also playing the one Herald of the Abyss down here as well. Do kind of keep in mind that, you know, you are seeing Mothman kind of show up in these lists. Mothman's entire purpose is additional trigger effects, additional capitalization, and punishing the opponent as well. Should get everything done that you need it to. Oh boy, Subterror. So what's the best thing that you can do when you lose skill drain? Just go ahead and put in some Shadow Imprisoning Mirrors here. It looks like it actually worked out. I didn't think I would see anytime soon, you know, after the destruction of skill drain, that players would try to find ways here to make this work, but sure enough, they actually have. I will say that, obviously, Rivalry, you know, Solemn Strikes, these key cards that can, you know, help prevent actual other effects from going off, it's pretty good. We have a lot of draw power in here. Triple Extra, double Prosperity, double Duality. That's a lot. Keep in mind, we are also playing Kaijus in here as well. You have a lot of detouring power to kind of take away, you know, threatening cards that the opponent might set up. But for this deck to get 4th place out of this event, I actually think is pretty impressive overall. So, once again, I like what we're seeing. Thank you, Relinquished Anima. Okay. Next up here, we have our Flaunderies variant. Now, keep in mind that Dimension Shifter is still semi in this format. We still are only playing the one Advent here. Advent still being able to do its thing is pretty good. Excuse me, Unexplored Winds. We are also side decking Ghost Reaper. If you've taken a huge notice here out of everything that's going on here, the OCG meta does not like these power extra deck cards. Between Nor and Vanquish Soul just turning into very annoying cards very quickly here, the reliance on Ghost Reaper in this format, it looks like it has pushed cards up very, very, very high here. And I guess I can't say that I'm really shocked to see that. I think that you've got a lot of consideration for things to maybe pick up here along the way because of that. But once again, kind of interesting. Next up here, we have our... yeah, that is 2 lovely Labyrinths in our Dynamorphia deck, because the entire purpose of it is to set up and then, you know, start rotating trap cards while you use your Dynamorphia cards as, you know, power stepping stones for you to do your job. We are siding 2 additional Ferret Flames with 1 in the main deck, so you should be able to do your thing. And then Ghost Reaper and Winter Cherries is down there in the side deck again. Okay, the amount of these Ghost Reaper and Winter Cherries, man. I swear, they are just sticking around here for probably the better. I see that we have more Herald of Abysses. We have the Eradicator Epidemic Viruses in here as well. Once again, the entire purpose of these cards is to detour your opponent and steal the game from them. You know, the OCG is so sick of Purely at this point in time. I understand a lot of the card choices and things that we're seeing here in order to, you know, punish the opponent. So, all right. Next up here is our Vanquish Soul list, with, of course, maximum versions of Small World. I will tell you that Small World giving this deck the chance to toggle in for really anything that it needs to from the deck is really good, especially when you can see that Parallel Exi when you set up the Link 1, which gives you access to the Baguski. Holy crap, man. Yeah, good power cards. Also, I see Heat Soul down here, Avermax. Very good generic Cyber's good stuff, access code shenanigans as well. And then, of course, there can only be 1 dimensional barriers. A lot of the standard floodgate stuff that you're used to seeing with this deck, especially when they go to establish, you know, the big unaffected monster, along with the rest of the consistent deck engine that this has got going for it. Perfectly makes sense to me how this is done so well out here. Also, shame that this was only like 7 plays. We've seen this perform a lot better up to this point. Next up here, we also have... is that purely in my Tier Elements deck? What in the world are you doing here? Well, it looks like that we have seen an option tree here to just kind of take advantage of making purely value, I suppose. I don't really know what the idea of what they're trying to do here is, because I don't see any purely X seeds down here, but I guess this might just be like a discard outlet to try to establish an extra monster on the field, or you're just going to try to make the little cat down there and go off. But overall, Very, very interesting take for this. So what do you guys think about these lists? Please leave a comment about what you guys think. See your beautiful faces back here learning today, guys. Peace out. Patrons, thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.